So we got a new Stoicheia ride lane. Let's get right into it. Check out Dueling Guard's deck boxes, playmats, and binders. They're great quality products that are anime based. They continually have more anime options becoming available. Use the affiliated link in the description for a 5% discount on your next purchase. Starting off with the starter, we have the Banana King. So pretty cool art. I like it. Going into the grade 1, it looks like this. Pretty interesting look. When this unit is rolled upon by the grade 2, look at the top 7 of your deck and choose up to one grade 3 or greater card with Stauhirhaja, if that's how you pronounce it. Stauhirhaja. I'm gonna try. And its card name, or up to one scripture card from among them and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. Cool, so just by writing up, you're already decked in and also searching for cards that you actually care about. As a rearguard skill, at the end of the turn, if you play a Sutra card, also known as, I think, Scripture, you can retire this unit, choose a grade 3 or greater card with Stauhirhaja in its card name from your drop, and put it into your hand. So this feeds for potential persona rights. Okay, pretty cool. This is the grade 2, Majestic Gamuga. When this unit is rolled upon by the specific grade 3 with Stauhirhaja in its card name, Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to one scripture card, add it to your hand and shuffle. So you have a consistent way of getting at least one scripture card by then. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if you play a scripture card this turn, Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets plus 5k. That's actually not bad. So we're getting Soul and some power up, and so the main guy, Dignitary Stauhirhaja. During your turn, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and you played a scripture order this turn, all of your front row units get plus 5k. So this, in tandem with the grade 2, will make a 20k unit essentially. Then auto once per turn, when you play a normal order, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater until the end of turn, you can play an additional order this turn, but you cannot play orders other than the scripture orders. So this lets you actually play any type of order at first. So this could be like Bracing Angel, Ladder, Forbidal, etc. And then you can play the scriptures, or if you have multiple scripture orders, then you can play those in one turn as well. So that's kind of nice. They have grade 3 or greater claws too, so I feel like that's one way to make it fair. The last skill is that when this unit attacks, you can Counter Blast 1, choose one of your riggers for each scripture order that you played this turn and stand them. So it actually incentivizes you to play 2 scripture orders to have 5 attacks, actually. That's pretty cool. If you got away with playing a different order and then a scripture, then you could basically have 4 attacks. So you could do this as soon as you ride to grade 3. You can have 4 attacks regardless if your opponent's a grade 3 or not. And then essentially, once they're a grade 3 or greater, you could actually immediately go to 5 attacks if you have 2 different scriptures, essentially. So you're probably wondering, like, what does the scripture orders do? And so the first one is that you can only play this assuming that you have the grade 3 Vanguard, Stauhirhaja, and also it has a restriction where you have not played an order with the same name as this one. So this is Principle of Non-Self. This card lets you choose one grade 3 or less card from your drop and call it to rearguard, and it gets 5k until the end of the turn. And if your opponent's got a grade 3 or greater, then this also gets the auto ability, which is once per turn. When this unit is stand by your card's ability, this unit gets critical +1 until the end of turn. Essentially. Wow, that's really good actually, because you have access to revival. It gives power, and it also gives crit once your opponent's a grade 3 at that point. So you at least have the second attack of that same rearguard, basically have crit, essentially. I like how they made it somewhat generic to what it stood by. And what I mean by that is that it just says stand by your card's ability. So this could be your Vanguard, this could be the same rearguard, this could be a different rearguard for whatever means, as long as the card ability, it gets it immediately. So then you have the next scripture order, Principle of Suffering. It looks like a scroll. That's pretty cool. Same conditions, you must have the grade 3 Vanguard and you have not played this specific order in the same turn. Your opponent gets the ability, all of your Vanguards get minus 3k until the end of the opponent's next turn. So basically you play it, it's in effect immediately, and then it's their turn, they're still minus 3k to their Vanguard. Furthermore, if you played another scripture order this turn, you can Soul Blast 2, draw a card, and then your opponent also gets, all of your Vanguards get drive -1 until the end of the opponent's next turn. So this is key on how it's actually given the ability. It's actually putting it onto the player itself and not a specific Vanguard. So in the event of, writing a new Vanguard, such as like Persona writing or even the Stride decks, by just striding, they are still affected by the minus drive 1 and the minus 3k as well. So all of a sudden, your strides in grade 4s essentially go down to twin drive, and any grade 3s go down to 1 drive. So it makes it a lot easier for you to kind of like guard, and also like not have to worry about such variance too. And this can mess with some other decks that really depend on the twin and triple drive for potential usage of triggers too. I'm really curious how this is going to work out too, because in theory it sounds pretty good, but I want to see how the practicality shows up. It has some additional support cards such as Tame Knight Clive, and so essentially it has a drop zone skill. At the start of your battle phase, if you play 2 or more orders this turn, then you can counterblast 1 and call this card to rearguard. I also want to clarify, this is, in a way, it's almost like Alchemy Magic, but it's actually different. Alchemy Magic actually has the normal order used from hand to gain the skill of the order that's bounded or the one that's in bind when it comes to like Zorga. So you're technically only playing 1 order. It just combines it into 1. But with the way that you're playing this deck, you are playing 2 orders per turn. Specifically, one of them being the scripture, being the second one. So this is a free body that can call itself if we need it. And at the end of the battle for this guy, this unit attacked or boosted, put this unit into your soul and look at the top 7 cards and choose up to 1 scripture and add it to your hand. So this is actually pretty cool. This is reoccurring advantage or returning advantage essentially. You can drop this card down for as a booster, as an attacker, and you basically can get a card for it back and adding to the soul. That 1 scripture card does Soul Blast too, that will add up over time. So it's kind of nice just to have something that feeds into it. Heartfall Pompolio. This unit gets 5k for each scripture order that you play. So it's already a 13k base, so this becomes 1823 by itself. The front row rearguard circle skill. When your Vanguard is attacked by your opponent's rearguard, you can retire this unit, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and reduce that unit's power by the unit's original power. So you can make a unit basically just weaker in a sense. So that's kind of like interesting dynamics. We have Vapahatsuka, the Overflyer. When this unit is placed on rearguard, you can counterblast 1, check the top 7, choose up to 1 scripture, add it to your hand and shuffle. If you did not reveal a card, you can draw a card. So literally you pay the counterblast skill, you will get something out of it. That's really good. Continuous rearguard, this unit gets plus 5k for each scripture order that you play this turn. This is a grade 2 that also gets beefy. That's actually pretty good because like this will actually make, if you play 2 scriptures, you're at 20k, and then with the passive skill 5k from one of the scriptures, that already puts you at 25, and then also the 5k skill from the grade 3, that's already 30k. Wow, that's actually not bad. Friendly Maiden Alvinia. Auto when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from your hand other than the battle phase, cost is Energy Blast 3, and perform one of the following. You can choose an order without the Regalis piece from your drop and put it into your hand, or you can choose a grade 1 or less unit from your drop and call it to rearguard. So you can actually just get the scriptures that you need from drop to reuse them, which is good. So I can see this card being used for sure at a few copies, and it also helps build a board if you need to do that as well. And it uses Energy Blast, so this is actually starting to use more of the Energy Blast mechanic, and you don't have to worry about like using Counter Blast or even the Soul at that point. The second skill is continuous. During your turn, if you have 4 more units, this also gets 2k. So this becomes a 10k booster, which can make pretty nice numbers too, depending on what you're attacking with, essentially. Overall, this ride line with the first wave of support is actually looking really solid. It has multi-attack, it has power regaining, it has revival, and it has some crit pressure to it. So it actually has a little bit of everything that it needs to like be a threat, as well as being almost a fully supported deck too. There are other cards that you can add to. Since you'll be doing 4 to 5 attacks pretty easily with this deck, a card that comes to mind is Inlet Pulse. So that way, if you do need another front unit, that could be the revive unit, and it's 13k already, so that can hit better numbers because it'll be 23k thanks to the scripture order and also the grade 3. And then it restands at that point and with the Vanguard skill, so then it'll have crit for the next attack when it attacks. And then in the end of the turn, you can shove it into Soul and draw a card. So I feel like Inlet might see some play. It's something to play test. The scriptures are also grade 3, so there's already a lot of grade 3s in this deck too. So there may not be, I'm not sure if there will be a full play set of Inlet, but we'll have to play test and see. Another card that comes to mind is Shield Fisher. Shield Fisher is already 18k. And if you're using the scriptures to superior call stuff from the drop zone, then Shield Fisher can actually be attacking as well. And since it's 18k base, this is a pretty solid rearguard with all the effect gains. So literally if you use the scripture to give it the crit and the power, essentially, it'll be 23 already. And then any Persona Ride or the passive 5k or even some other stuff, it's hitting really good numbers too. So as another option. For the grade 2s, there's also the Lettuce Dual Nation cards, the Lettuce one. So it has a CB scale where you can essentially give all your rearguards 5k. So that can help more push So that's something to worth try out. You also have the Wandering Soul. Since you do play a bunch of orders and ways to recover them, but also search for them, you may have excess orders in hand. And if you use the Wandering Souls as the first order, that can get you basically an extra drive for your Vanguard. So not bad. Also, if you're fighting the Mare, this can actually kind of repel with the minus drive that you're getting. The Wandering Souls will actually just put you back to twin drive at that point. There's other units that I looked at. One that really stood out was Tideline. So when you do the personal ride turn, you can further beef up your cards. Tideline can also be behind the Vanguard just to stack the other beaters that are more equipped to gain the power gain. So you can do that as well. You could also play Clipping Dragon too. Since you do 5 attacks, you can actually put this into Soul and CC. That's one way to feel the Soul again, but also be able to access CC. But who knows? Grade 1's Prize Trident is another option because it will go onto Soul as well and CC as well, because you'll be doing 5 attacks at that point. I think it's best to have Prize Trident to be essentially the 4th attack booster, because it has to go into Soul on the 5th attack. So just make sure that your attack patterns make sense for that turn. For standard, so this deck is actually looking pretty cool. I'm excited to try this out and see how it plays out too. But I'd also thought of a premium usage, and so I thought I'd add this tidbit as well. And so when it comes to like, this is kind of Aqua Force like, with a sprinkleness of Mega Colony, a sprinkleness of Alchemy Magic here and there, essentially. Oh, thanks to like the Aqua Force cards that we have access to. Since you're Vanguard, you can use this as your Vanguard and then Stride if you want to. You still have the name because the orders actually specify grade 3 or greater Vanguards with that name. So you could be on a Stride and actually activate the scripture orders, which is really nice. That's big because in Force, we have plenty of cards that also stand regards. So if your Vanguard is a Lambros and an Alexandros or a Faragas, you'll for sure be able to take the full advantage of the scriptures as well. Not to mention that you have access to like Persona Right, so that they still, Persona Right is still a blanket effect, even if you're on Stride as well. Also, you can take advantage of other beaters in Aqua Force too. We have Riptide Dragon as a great beater to use, and you can combine it with other cards such as like Andre and Orphea to make it restand multiple times outside of just the Vanguard restanding it. This can make Riptide just really hard to like deal with, especially if it's going to restand more than once, thanks to other card effects too. You also have the generic restanders for Aqua Force, such as like Tidal Assault, Repress Strike Dragon, and many others too, that could also take advantage of the scripture crit gaining. And also it's just like revival cards, so you could just get what you need for that turn too, which is super valuable in Aqua Force. You could also think of cards like Pursuit Assault and Coral Assault to help with that too. So there's many options to explore. I thought I'd just throw it out there because like I'm already like thinking of things of like what a deck could look like with this in premium as well. But I thought I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts too, whether it be standard and premium thoughts as well. Just happy to like share this knowledge and also just see what you guys are cooking too. On to the next one, amigos. Bye.